Welcome back, you filthy exiles, to another curation video. This one was a little harder than the last ones that I've done in the past, mainly because we got slapped with the ultimate slappage of bloody nerfy McSlaps, basically. Pretty much in summary, we got fucked today in the patch notes, but it's all good because we're going to be fine, and we're going to find builds that work with the new skill sets that are going to mitigate a lot of the changes. Mostly the changes were made towards support skill gems where buffs have been provided to skills themselves, so it's a bit of a weird one. They're trying to rescale it so supports aren't so powerful but the skills have more damage. I feel like it's just sort of balancing the scale in whichever direction now, but anyway, that's for another video. So pretty much I've went through, done a fair bit of benchmarking based on the new patch notes, and I'll make reference to the patch notes themselves. Now, I'm not going to curate any league starters for any build or any new skill because I have absolutely no idea how they're going to work. And there's also been a lot of nerfs to things like golem stacking and things like that for the elementalist, which no longer stacks. So we're going to really focus on some different league starters here, some even a throwback to previous leagues of ye old times. But anyway, let's get started with 5 solid builds to get you started for the 3.51 league. Okay, so the first build that we're going to look at is actually a ball lightning miner. Now, from looking at the patch notes, there is more in the direction of buffing mines than there is or maybe not buffing mines, but there's less nerfs to mine characters than there are to many other characters. Now, not to speak to the support gems, which are pretty much going to be hit, but this particular build from, I think his name is High, is actually quite good as a league starter. Now, that being said, the gearing that is on it from a league start perspective, you're not going to have a Crown of the Inward Eye or a Chaom's Heart, or a Mark of the Shaper, and a Atziri's Step, or a Dying Sun first off the ranks. But the tree itself and the concept and pretty much everything else to it is pretty straightforward. I'll actually be playing a similar build with ball or a ball lightning build myself with not a very different tree, but a different tree from this. But the beauty of this build is it can be respec'd and it can be improved 10 ways to Sunday. So, for example, the Tremor Rod, instead of using that, you can switch to a wand, or you can switch to a really good dagger and a shield, and then you can basically max out crit and more damage that way, and have a 6-link mine set up in your chest piece. Now, as you can see from a damage perspective, this one takes advantage of you shooting at a heap of small ball lightning nodes, which go around and kill a heap of things. Now, looking at the POB itself, you do need to tick on Shaper damage, so he has missed that out in the POB, but there's nothing wrong with the damage output that this gets for, minimal investment at the start of a league. If you follow the tree, this build will get you through. I don't foresee this having too many issues. I'm going to play Ball Lightning character, as I said, Ball Lightning Miner as my league starter at this point, just based on the patch notes, absolutely smashing pretty much anything that I was going to play previously. And yeah, as an overall, this is a pretty reliable build. There's a lot of other build guides out there, and mean to say I'll be doing my own build guide for my own variation of this build as well. But this is the first one to look out for as a solid contender for a build starter for the 3.15 league. Okay, so there were some buffs to the Warchief totems for this league from the looks, and it's looking like more and more of a viable skill to use, just on the basis of the new slam skill support gem that's coming out for this league, which basically lets you convert slam skills into, totems. So anyway, Jaamon has actually got a really good build here, and he's sort of predicted this of July as well. I was thinking the same thing. Now they're taking away our ability to basically sit on enemies with melee characters, so why not just put all of our melee skills on Warchief totems and be done with it? So looking at his actual build guide itself, we're looking at about 883,000 DPS per Val Ancestral Warchief totem, and then basically looking at about 6 million DPS isn't too bad. Now, this is going to decrease with the changes to the support gems, but also increase because Warchief totems have had a base damage buff from 133% to 166%. So there is a bit, and that's per the patch notes released today. So from a viability standpoint, absolutely a fantastic option. Now, Tukahama's Fortress, at one stage when Warchief Totems was a really expensive build to play because it was so damn powerful in the earlier leagues, is now a cheap item, but I'm sort of predicting that a lot of people are going to have the same mindset and play Warchief Totems this league, and bring back the old Warchief Totems. So, you know, this build sort of caters to that. Now, talking about beefing this up further, Jaamon's got a breakdown of high budget, which gets as far as nearly 21 million DPS, and actually really makes me want to play Warchief Totems again. But to a medium budget to a league start budget. So everything here is well outlined. He's also got a lot of notes because he's played this build league on league. Check out his video. It's in the description below, the link to the video. And yeah, as an overall, I used to play Warchief Totems when the game first came out. Or when Warchief Totems first came out, sorry, because that's how long I've been playing this, and quite frankly, they're a really good skill. And in particular, with the new skills that are coming out, they're actually going to be, it's going to be really interesting to see how you can convert a character to run Warchief, to run the new Totem support skill gem for slam skills. Now, the other thing too, this build has no cluster jewels, so you don't need to worry about mucking around with cluster jewels or anything like that. You just get in, build it straight away, bam, get to end game, and Bob's your uncle. As far as the scaling gem, Warchief Totems is a really powerful gem to scale throughout the ranks as you level up as well. And obviously, you're not sitting on enemies, so you can sort of just drop them, run around and kite and do whatever else you want to do. You know, if you wanted to run Enduring Cry, there's other options for skills. You could run more defensive layering. And just shoot those off in the background while, you know, you're running around. The options are endless. But anyway, give this build a bit of a look if you're keen to play Warchief Totems again and bring that back and make it a meta again. Okay, so the next build we're going to look at is actually the Earthshatter Champion. The reason why, from Taake. And the reason why I picked this one in particular is he's got a bit of a guide up and going. His skill tree is pretty damn good. Also, I played a similar build last league, pretty much on point with this. The big thing about this build is it uses some pretty easy to get uniques at the very start of leagues, such as Facebreaker, drops all throughout the first few days of the league, and a very easy item to get. Now, Bottle Faith, Lion's Roar, all of that's getting nerfed, or will be nerfed, but don't stress. That's not going to stop you from doing millions of damage, millions and upon millions of DPS with this build. Earthshatter by nature is a very powerful build. Now, how it basically works is you drop your Earthshatter down, and then you basically hit your war cries and you do a huge amount of F-off damage. Now, this one uses Lycosidé, which means that your hits can't be dodged, and it also means that you can stack Critical Strike, which is exactly what Taake talks about in this particular build. As an overall, I played this last league. I really liked it. It does take a bit of balancing in the end game if you want to go and take A9 and A8 Cyrus and Maven and things like that. But as you can see on screen, perfectly doable. Now with the nerfs that are coming in, they are going to nerf things like Brutality. I think Impaler's getting partial nerfs, but that being said, while you'll lose a bit of DPS off of this build, at max peak you're getting huge DPS anyway, up to like 7-8 million DPS. You take away Lion's Roar and Bottle Faith altogether, and even if you take away your Diamond Flask, you can probably rip off your Reslythers. You're still going to get into the millions of DPS without any real effort whatsoever, which is why this build's really, really good. From a league starting perspective, it scales really well as well, and you get some maps, and it's got good survivability under the champion tree. Now, they are nerfing Fortify, but fuck GGG, we're still going to make Fortify great. It's still a powerful attribute to have. Now, the other big advantage to this is, again, no cluster jewels required. You can build it out eventually, so you can increase your AoE, or you can increase survivability and add fettles or whatever else you want to do to it. But the world is your oyster with this build. In particular, as you can see on the tree, it's a very basic and very easy build to scale, but definitely a pick that I would say is a solid league starter for a slam build. Now, some of the slam skills and the supports with the slam skills are getting mana increases to the amount of cost, but that's not really too much of a concern because that can be relatively well managed in this build anyway. As you can see, the mana pool's 166 on this endgame build, and with the right gearing you can sort of get around that very easily, and once you get leech on that, it really doesn't make any difference, so there's no real issues there. But this is build number 3 that I would recommend for this league. Okay, so the fourth build that we're going to look at here is actually one by Tripolar Bear, and it's an Ice Trapper. Completely different to pretty much any build that I've ever curated for, but I've played Trappers in the past, and they're actually quite good. They're really powerful and very consistent to play. Now, obviously, with everything trying to kill you, in particular with the nerfs that have come in to make things easier in its effort to kill us, ice traps is a really good thing to have. Now, obviously, decreasing enemy movements and enemy action sort of movements is going to increase our survivability at this stage, and this is what this build really focuses on doing. As you can see, it's pretty damn viable at taking a lot of pretty hefty shit down in the background. Now, the actual build guide itself that Tripolar Bears put together has from league start through to early mapping through to expensive endgame gear kitouts, which is pretty damn good. It's pretty robust. But anyway, check out the video in the description. It has a full explanation of how to play the build. Also, additionally, this one has all of the notes required for the league start to basically give you an idea of how this works. I think he's also got it noted on his video that he's going to update the build guide as well as he gets further down the track. I think this league is going to be mines, ancestral, war totems, and trappers, essentially, because everyone's going to be trying to avoid death like the plague. But anyway, this is build number 4. Okay, so the final build that I'm going to curate here is one that I pretty much curate every single league, and it is the Soulwrest Necromancer, with basically all other minions being completely destroyed by the patch notes in respect to now there being a 25% life reduction to minions themselves, and also minion damages going down per minions. The solution is to have 20 minions doing lots of individual damage. Now, this build, if you're looking at it from an endgame perspective, does get more expensive as you move up into getting the right cluster jewels and gear kitouts. The Soulwrest itself is something that you'll get within the first few days of the league normally, for those who actually farm the syndicate encounters and take out what was the witch, whatever her name was. I can never remember her name. Katarina, that is, which then drops the Soulwrest staff. Or it can drop throughout the game as well. But as an overall, the Soulwrest league on league is a really good build. Now, when you're leveling this build up in particular, you're going to want to basically go with zombies and skeletons and specters, and then you're going to basically have a minion army set up for the first however long it takes you until you can get a Soulwrest Ezomite staff, and then basically following the right gem sockets. Well, pretty much when it comes to gem sockets, it's just gem socket color that you're worried about with Soulwrest build itself. Now, I've done this build guide in particular. There are plenty of other build guides that look at Soulwrest. It is becoming a more popular build league on league. The feedback I've had on my videos is that people have played this and it's taken them all the way through to endgame. Now, with the nerfs that are coming in place, there are going to be inevitable nerfs to this build in some way, shape or form, and the only thing that right now I'd be concerned about is the channeling cost. But that being said, once you get the headpiece, then you're pretty much good to go. And that is that's the headpiece that drops from Zana itself. Outside of that, this build is extremely solid. I've played it for 2 or 3 leagues now. I've even played it as the Guardian and did a Guardian iteration, which was quite okay. Not as good as the Necromancer, but still got pretty good damage stats and damage numbers. Necromancer had a better survivability. But as an overall, this is a really good build, really solid, will take you all the way through, has pretty good defensive layering, and is just a generally good build to play. It'll be interesting to see what the channeling cost does to the build, but as an overall, I don't think that's going to have a huge impact, because that'll just be the difference of running one aura to not running an aura, basically. But anyway, this is the last build that I'll curate. Here is pretty much this last one's tried and true and worked for me for a couple of leagues, and is my go-to if I completely fail league on league. Then I go with this particular build in the end. Okay, so there we go. There's 5 builds for this league that I'll curate for league start. I might do another 5 once I learn a bit more about what people are putting out there and I do a bit more benchmarking. These are the ones that stuck out to me. The reason why I've went with these particular builds is they sort of focus on the niche that is mines, traps, ancestral war totems, the one summon, one summoner that doesn't require health on minions, because you'll have minion invulnerability, and also a slam skill which has been pretty damn reliable. I played it last league and it took me all through the end game with no issues whatsoever. Extremely tanky as well, and there's other things that we can do with the changes to gear and whatnot to create more defensive layering for that character, with the champion ascendancy being a pretty damn tanky character that can take a lot of punishment. Anyway, as always, we have to just adapt to the game changes. There are new skills coming in, as you can see on the screen there, mainly the Spectral Helix, which I'm keen to play with, but having a league starter is just generally about having a reliable build to start with, and then you can generate currency and go from there. Mean to say, these builds aren't exhaustively the best builds of their class, but do some more research around them, get a bit more of a feel of how they work. But until next time, let's get G'd up and amped up for the league, and I'll put a video up later about patch notes and my thoughts on that. But until league start, or until the next video, have a good one, and bye.